And we saw that the point where MR is equal to MC, where MR is marginal revenue and MC is marginal cost. So that point is the point where the firm will earn maximum profit, or that is the level of output that will produce maximum profit for the firm, that will generate maximum profit for the firm. Graphically, that relationship can be shown like this. This straight line is the demand curve or the marginal revenue curve, because as we know that in a perfectly competitive market, the demand curve is given and a single firm cannot change the price. The price is already given uh, as far as the case of an individual firm is concerned. So an individual firm cannot change the price. So that is why this market price, this is a straight line. This is market price, and this is also marginal revenue. And the point where MC cuts MR. So this is the marginal cost curve. So marginal cost curve is cutting marginal revenue curve here. So this is the point, that is quantity Q. So quantity Q is the optimal quantity for this firm. That if this firm produces quantity Q, that will generate the maximum profit for this firm. So if this firm decides to produce quantity Q star here, that will not be optimal. See, if it decides to produce this quantity, that is Q2, that will also not be optimal for this firm. The optimal point, the point where the firm will make the maximum profit, is the point where MC cuts MR. MC cuts MR, that is this point. And at this point, average cost is this, and the difference between price and average cost is the profit. Profit is nothing but price minus average cost. And if we multiply that by Q, that is the quantity of units sold, that will give us the figure of total profit. So total profit is equal to price minus average total cost, ATC. And if this portion is multiplied by Q, that will give us total profit. Q is total quantity, the quantity or total output sold. This is per unit profit. If per unit profit is multiplied by the total units sold by the firm, that gives us the figure of total profit. So this green area denotes the area of profit. Why this is profit? Because average cost is lesser. Average cost is this much. This is the level which is the cost, and price at which the firm is selling is higher. So the difference between cost and price is profit. So this area is called the profit region, this rectangular area. So this price minus average total cost is the per unit profit. If per unit profit is multiplied by the number of that Q, that will give us the figure of total profit. So this is an example. This is an example of a firm which is operating in a perfectly competitive market. In which case a single firm is price taker A single firm is price taker because the pricing is not under the control of the firm. The prices are fixed by the market. So the only thing it can control is average total cost. If it is able to control its cost, uh, if it is able to uh, able to produce whatever product it is at a cost which is lower than the price, in that case the firm will make a profit. So if P is more than ATC, P is price and average total cost is the average cost per unit. So if the firm is able to produce at a cost which is lesser than the price of that product in the market, this will generate profit for the firm. And if the firm is able to just produce at the cost at which the cost is equal to the price, in that case the firm will just break even. It will neither make profit nor make loss. The third situation is the situation in which the firm is not able to produce at a cost which is lower than the price. Actually, the cost of production for per unit is higher than the price that is prevailing in the market. In that case, the firm will experience losses. So these are the three possible situations for a firm which is operating in a perfectly competitive market. So if the firm is making loss, it will, the losses will drive that firm out of the business. If the firm is operating at the break-even point, then it may continue or may not continue. But if it is making profit, some profit, because prices of that product are more than the cost at which the firm is producing that product. In that case, the firm will make profit and may continue to exist in that industry because the firm is making profit. The two situations, these are the two more situations. Initially we saw this graph in which the firm is experiencing a profit. And these are the two more situations in which the first case, the firm is just breaking even. Breaking even means average total cost is equal to the marginal revenue or the price. Or in other words, the price is equal to ATC. Price is equal to ATC, average total cost. So this is the point where the firm is neither making profit nor making loss. So the graph on the left hand side depicts that situation where the average total cost is equal to the demand curve or the price or the marginal revenue. So this is the break-even point. And if the average total cost is higher than the prices per unit that has been fixed by the market, in that case, the firm will make a loss. And this rectangle is the area of loss. Why this is loss? Because price is lower and average total cost is higher. So if the average total cost is higher, so cost is high, price is low. So this situation is a situation of loss. Graphically, this can be shown like this. The demand curve is will be a straight line in a perfectly competitive market. And if we will draw the marginal cost curve, which will always be a U-shape, and as we know that marginal cost curve cuts average total cost curve from below. So average total cost will be above the marginal cost curve. And we also know that the optimal point is the point where MR is equal to MC. MR is equal to MC. This is the optimal point. Optimal point means this is the quantity uh, that will produce maximum profit for the firm. So this is the quantity. Q. So if we draw a line from this, the intersection of MR is MC, MR MC, MR is this, MC is this curve. So MC is cutting MR at this point, at this point. So this is the point. So at this point, price is lower and average total cost is higher because the average total cost is here. Average total cost is this point. So average total cost is more than the price. That is why this firm will experience loss. This firm will experience losses. So these are the three situations possible for a firm which is operating in a perfectly competitive market. So if a firm is making losses in a perfectly competitive market, what are the options? So there are two options. Either it may continue to produce or it may stop production by shutting down temporarily. And if it is making losses in the long run, then of course it has to shut down the business, because a business cannot continue with losses in the long run period. So in long run there is no option. Then in the long run the only option is to shut down the business. But in the long run there are in the short run there are two options. Either it may continue to produce or it may stop production by shutting down temporarily. And if the prices are lower than average variable cost, that is called shutdown point. So shutdown point is the minimum point on a firm's average variable cost curve. If the price falls below this point, the firm shuts down production in the short run. So prices should be at least more than the average variable cost. If we can compromise with the fixed cost, but as far as variable cost is concerned, we cannot compromise. So we can ignore the fixed cost component because for running a factory, if we are not able to make payment to the labor, if we are not able to make payment for the raw material, that is variable cost. So raw material and labor, these are variable costs. So prices should be in such a manner that we should be able to pay for the variable cost. Variable cost, for example, raw material and labor. But even if we are not able to make for the rent, we are not able to make payment for the rent and any other cost, long run cost, for example, the cost of mm, um, you know if we have purchased a machinery on a loan and we want to make payment of interest on that loan, so that may be considered as long-term cost of that machinery or land. So those fixed costs can be ignored. But if we are not able to recover average variable cost, in that case, we have to compulsorily shut down that business. And this point is called shutdown point. If price is less than average variable cost, that point is called uh, shutdown point. The minimum point on a firm's average variable cost curve. If the price falls below this point, the firm shuts down production in the short run. So graphically, this relationship can be shown like this. The prices are here. This straight line is the price. This is the price, and this yellow curve is average variable cost. So this is the shutdown point. This is the point where average variable cost is just equal to the price. If average variable cost is above this, for example, if average variable cost is above this, in that case, price is lower and average variable cost is higher. And the firm cannot continue even in the short run period of time. The firm has to compulsorily shut down. So the average variable cost should be lower or at least equal to the price in the short run. So this can be lower also. If it is lower, then the firm will start making profit. But if it is higher, then the firm cannot continue to operate even in this short-term period of time, because the prices should be able to at least should enable the entrepreneur to make payment for the variable cost component, for example labor, and for example the cost of raw material. What happens if if there is an industry, if there is an industry and new firms enter into that industry, what happens to the supply and demand? So if there is a particular industry, say there are only few players in that industry, and if further firms enter into that industry, so the graph on the left hand side depicts that situation. S1 is the supply curve in the beginning. So when this S1 interacts with D, that is the demand curve, the equilibrium is fixed at $15 price. So the price at the equilibrium level is $15. This one. So this was the equilibrium initially. But because new firms have entered into the industry, this supply curve has shifted right side, or the supply of that product has increased in the market. The demand curve we are assuming to be same. The demand from consumers is constant, is same, but new firms have entered into the same business. Initially there were maybe 5-4 companies, but now 5-4 companies have entered more in the same industry. What will happen? The supply curve will shift rightwards, and now the new equilibrium will be this one. So this was the E0, that is equilibrium at time 0. Now because of additional supply, because of additional entry of new firms in that industry, now the equilibrium will shift downwards. So now the new equilibrium is E1. Now you may observe at E1 that now the prices of the product has declined or has reduced. So initially the prices in the market were $15 per unit, but when new entries have new firms have entered into the market, the price of that product has reduced from $15 to $10. So this is very basic economics, that if there are more firms operating in a particular industry, that will put pressure on the prices. The prices of the product will reduce because of competition, because of more supply of that product in the market, and more supply will cause a reduction in the price of that product. This is the basic concept, that if we keep demand constant and increase the supply, the prices will reduce. So if the prices will reduce, what will happen? If the prices will reduce, every player in the market, every firm in the market will the profit of every firm will reduce, because when there were only few firms, they were able to sell at $15 per unit. But now, because new firms have entered into the market and the supply has increased, as a result, instead of $15 per unit, now the firm is able to sell only at a price of $10 per unit. So as a result of competition, as a result of new entry of new firms in the market, the prices have reduced, and as a result, the profit of every firm will also reduce. On the right hand side, the profits of a single farmer has been depicted, where initially the farmer was able to sell at $15. This is the point. This is $15. average total cost was this much. So the point where MR cuts MC is the optimal point. So this is the point. So initially, this farmer was selling 10,000 units. 10,000 units at what price? At $15. At $15. But now, because of the entry of new firms in the business, the prices of that product has reduced. Now the new price is $10, and now that single farmer is able to sell only 8,000 units. At what price? At $10. So 8,000 into $8 is his total revenue. 8,000 multiplied by $10. $10. So that is the revenue of this farmer in the second case. In the first case, his revenue was 10,000 units. He was selling 10,000 units at what price? At $15 per unit. So because of competition, his revenue has reduced. The revenue of this farmer has reduced as a result of the entry of new firms in the same industry. So the lesser the number of players are there in the industry, the more profit they will make. And the higher is the number of players in a particular industry, the lower will be the profit of a single firm. This is the basic thing. This is the same thing which is that you might have studied in the strategy class, or you will study this in strategy class, that is known as Michael E. Porter five forces model. So in that model, the lesser is the amount of players, the lesser is the competition from new players, the higher will be the profit, and the more is the competition among players, the lesser will be the profit margin of every player. So it is beneficial if there are lesser player in a particular industry, because entry of new firms reduces the economic profit of that firm, reduces the economic profit of firm. The prices also reduce, and profit of every firm actually reduces because of competition. So economic losses lead to exits of firm. So if as a result of new entry, if a particular industry is becoming a trend, it has become a trend, every company is entering into that business, that will lead to a lot of competition, and it will lead to economic losses. So economic loss is the situation in which a firm's total revenue is less than its total cost, including all implicit cost. So long-run competitive equilibrium is the situation in which the entry and exit of firms has resulted in the typical firm breaking even. So if there is economic profit in a particular industry, new players will enter into that market. And if this continues, then the economic profit will turn into economic loss. If a lot of players are there, then it will lead to economic loss. And because of economic loss, firms will exit from that business. And this process of entry and exit will continue. And in the long run, an equilibrium will be achieved, where a single firm will neither make any abnormal profit, it will just break even. This will happen in a perfectly competitive market in the long run. So in a perfectly competitive market, no firm can make economic profit for a long period of time. That can be only a short run phenomena. In long run, If any industry is making more profit, more earnings, then new players will enter into that market, and as a result, the economic profit will come down. And if the process of entry is continued, then it will lead to economic losses, and then firms will decide to exit from that market. And in the long run, an equilibrium will be achieved, in which a typical firm will just break even. Break even means, it will not make any abnormal profit. It will just earn normal profit.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes,
Hello.
yes, you may ask.
So can you please explain the concept of sir normal profit? As sir, you have said that in the long run, the firm will be at the position of break even, where total cost becomes equal to the total revenue. Then what will be their profit at that point, sir?
Uh, Normal profit means, the concept of economic profit is slightly different from the concept of accounting profit. So accounting profit may be 20% or maybe 25%, but a lot of costs are there which we don't account in books of financial statements. For example, the entrepreneur may not pay himself, for example. Or even if the entrepreneur pays himself, he may pay himself a very meager amount of money. So if we consider implicit cost also, apart from explicit costs are those costs which we explicitly write down in the financial statements, in the P&L account, in the but there are certain costs which we don't record in the books of accounts. And I have just given you example of the salary of the entrepreneur, which sometimes may not be recorded, but he deserves to be paid. Similarly, there may be uh, long run impact on the health of the employees. So in the short run, the company may not be taking care of the health of the employees, health of the all the workers. But in the long run, it has to be taken care of by the company. So that is also a kind of implicit cost, which actually is not being recorded, but it should be recorded. So in short, we can say that economic profit or economic cost is explicit cost plus implicit cost. And what is implicit and explicit? Explicit costs are those costs which are recorded in the accounting statements, and implicit costs are not recorded. So if we take account of implicit costs also, that can be termed as economic cost. So in the long run period of time, uh, a firm's profit is just normal, means its economic cost is equal to uh, total revenue. So total revenue is equal to just cost. So it is not making any abnormal profit. It is just making a profit necessary for that firm to generate, so that it may survive in the long run. That profit is called economic profit.
So we can say, sir, in this situation, the economic profit is zero.
Yes, in the long run, in a perfectly competitive market, economic profit is zero, because every firm just exists at the break-even point in the long run.
Then, sir, why we
In
are
a
saying that
perfectly
it is
competitive
a
market,
normal profit? Then we can say that the economic profit is zero at that point.
economic profit is zero. But if we will look at the balance sheet, that will show some amount of profit.
Okay,
But
sir. Normal.
that there is economic, because why that profit is showing up in the P&L, because we are not accounting for a lot of costs that should be accounted for.
Okay,
Just
sir. Here, the profit which are we are concerned with is accounting profit, not the economic profit.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Because by law, I mean by regulations, we are supposed to show only accounting profit, and the concept of economic profit is slightly broader.
so sir, we are saying normal profit in the context of accounting, not in economic.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for joining this class. We will continue tomorrow with the
Thank you,
same
sir.
topic.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.